Ladies and gentlemen, hosting your next panel, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Bill Bryant.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill Bryant. I'm a general partner with DFJ out of Silicon Valley. I happen to live in Seattle, though. DFJ has been a long-time investor in the healthcare environment. We've backed companies like Athena Health, Hippocrates, currently Livongo, and several, Zelf, a very exciting startup in Seattle, where we've partnered with UPMC and Providence. So we're here today to talk about healthcare. And we've got two great panelists to do that. To provide some context, I wanted to set the stage for what healthcare is all about. This next year in the US, we'll spend over $3.3 trillion on healthcare. It's about 20% of our GDP. Translates into over $10,000 per person per year, which means that each of you will spend approximately $300 on healthcare today, on average. And yet the results and outcomes that we're getting from our healthcare system are not what we'd like to see. In the US, we've got the 37th ranked healthcare system in the world, according to the World Health Organization, and the worst healthcare system among the developing nations. So, what's going to change? 5 years from now, are we going to continue to complain about the healthcare system, the costs and the quality of that? So we'll have a couple of panelists that are going to speak to us about one very important trend, and that's the consumerization of healthcare, how consumers are taking back control over their healthcare decisions and informing themselves about the alternatives that they have available to them. So with that, I'd like to invite my first guest speaker, Leah VonBidder. She's the CEO and founder of VonBidder Science. It's a exciting startup in the wearable space out of Switzerland. So, Leah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Leah. I'm one of the founders of a company called VonBidder Science. And we're one of the leading digital women's health companies out there at the moment. We really focus on giving women insights about their body and health over all stages of their reproductive life. So be it trying to understand your body, trying to get pregnant, being pregnant, eventually up to menopause. The first product that we have out in the market is the VonBidder Fertility Tracker, which is actually what I have in my hand. It's a sensor bracelet, a medical device that women wear during the night. It tracks 9 different physiological parameters, and those help us understand the underlying hormonal changes during her menstrual cycle. Really all in the end to help her know when she's fertile and when she's not. So we're really basically in the baby-making business at this point. And I think, I don't know how much you all know about trying to get pregnant, but we really started this because the process for women to track their menstrual cycles in the past was really difficult. There were a lot of imprecise options out there, very difficult options, and VonBidder really comes in as an easy, precise method to really detect her fertile window in real time. We have 10,000 of happy customers now in the US and in Europe. We announce around 20 VonBidder babies a day, which is super exciting, and I'm really excited to talk about healthcare and how VonBidder fits into that today in the panel. Thank you.
Our second speaker is Shamil Hargovan from Wiivv, a Vancouver-based startup in the personalized device space. So, Shamil.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? I'm Shamil from Wiivv. The best way to think about us is we're bringing functional customization to the footwear, apparel, and medical devices industries. And so the way we're doing this today, we take out a smartphone, we measure a part of your body, we can collect body data from multiple sources. Ultimately, we use machine learning, AI, and what we call a proprietary customization platform to make the product made for you, to biomechanically enhance your body. And then from there, we actually manufacture the product in our factory in California. So we're doing the whole vertical play from the time we take your scan to the time we actually customize a medical grade product on the other end for you. And we really think this is tying into people trying to take advantage of their own care and looking for ways to find a way to do that. And this is really one of the kind of examples of how this starts, where you start to get the product made just for you instead of get something off the shelf. You probably see this in multiple industries. We just happen to be in this one. Thank you.
So, despite the spending of literally trillions of dollars, our healthcare system doesn't seem to be functioning in the way that we all want as consumers. One of the movements that's happened is consumers taking back control of their healthcare outcomes and decisions. Can you both speak to that trend and what you're seeing?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think in women's health especially, if you look at all the different verticals of health that are out there, I think in women's health especially you see that women have traditionally already taken a lot of control over this vertical in the for a really long time. So when it comes to contraception decisions and other ones, those have always been decisions where women do a lot of research. But obviously, if we've seen the trend in the last couple of years, it has been amazing how women are really taking that control, doing their research, and really understanding more what is going on. And I think we are a little bit at the tip of the iceberg for that, because actually giving women constant data about what's happening in their body is taking this whole thing to a new level.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say there's two pushes for this. One is the consumer, the other are the actual medical device or pharma companies realizing they don't actually have a relationship with their customer. So traditionally they've gone to doctors or they've gone to these big OTC markets without really understanding what the customer wants. And what a lot of us startups do is we come in and show these companies there's a way to actually have a relationship with your customer and ensure they get not hooked, but fundamentally use your services. So that's happening on one end, and then I agree with you, Leah. Customers are looking everywhere. We're talking about magazines, blogs, fake news, unfake news. It's everywhere, and there's all this advice. And at some point, people become trial and error people. They just keep trying stuff until it works for them, and they go, "I love it," and they want to tell everybody about it.
Will there be a role for professional healthcare providers in 5 years, or will we consume apps and content and come to our own conclusions about our health and go to Amazon and buy our drugs?
I mean, I think to a certain extent, a little bit of that is going to happen, but I very, very strongly believe that we have to work hand in hand. And I think that's not really happening at this point. I think a lot of us startups that are out there, we're kind of working on our own little silos, and we're very far away from the traditional healthcare providers, a lot of the direct-to-consumer medical companies, because it's so expensive to really integrate into the healthcare system and sell to doctors and be present. So a lot of companies just basically decide they're going to leave that out. And I think that's a problem, and we need to fix that, and we need to really work with the healthcare providers. But again, it does take a lot of money to do that, so I think it's going to be the next step for most of us.
Mm-hmm.
Alexa, can you check what's on my back? No, I don't think that's going to completely go away. Where we need a doctor, and I hope it doesn't, because frankly, I don't trust anything more than I trust a doctor. Mm-hmm. And so I think we're really giving doctors, like the whole movement's been giving doctors more time to practice medicine and less time to do everything else. The more you give them tools, capabilities, the ability to do things with these technologies, the better care I think we ultimately get to more amounts of people. The biggest issue in healthcare, that when you talk to healthcare professionals, is even with a lot of resources, finding the amount of well-trained doctors to be deployed to the size of our human population, it's still a challenge to get that. So we got to make them more efficient and then create knowledge across the entire platform for doctors to be able to do more.
And I think it's just really important. I think really the responsibility is on us as those companies that come up with new things. So Ava, for example, we're doing a lot of research and a lot of clinical trials, and a lot of those results we do publish, but then we can't expect just because we publish it that every single healthcare provider will know about it, right? So then our users basically go to their OBGYN and say, oh, look, this is my entire data and how my breathing rate and the estradiol, and it completely overwhelms the doctor, and rightly so. They can't keep up with the entire wave of things that is out there right now, and I think the responsibility really is on us as the companies to educate the healthcare professionals because we need to find somehow budget to do that.
Well, so you talk about doctors not being able to keep up with all of the advances. Software can do that, and there are a lot of startups that are trying to reduce the doctor experience to an informed chatbot using AI and machine learning. Do you think that 10 years from now, will we be interacting with a chatbot and describing our symptoms and getting a diagnosis?
Well, you go ahead.
I mean, I think a lot of the systems that are right now used in healthcare are already basically doing that. A lot of doctors are already, to a certain extent, doing that. But I think we've seen over the last couple of years that it's a little bit more tricky than people assumed. So, I mean, my opinion is it has to enhance a doctor's capabilities in the end. So we need to have those kind of systems, but those kind of systems need to be there to enhance the doctors that are already out there.
Shamil?
I think the role of the chatbot and the sort of the AI capabilities is to give the doctor more information. You still need someone to make the judgment call and work with the patient, understand what that patient needs. But the challenge and the tricky part is with patients, we've become the most difficult group of people where if we don't get what we want from one doctor, we'll just go to another one. And so I think there's an element of that human understanding and being able to tell you, I need you to trust me and do this, that a chatbot may not be as equipped to do. But do I believe it's going to play a big role and disrupt the industry? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wonder what is the role of judgment? If I compare like healthcare to playing Go. Okay, Go, super complex, quadrillion outcomes, whatever it is, right? And yet now a machine can beat the best Go master in the world by taking in all the data and making the right move. So why will we need healthcare professionals to diagnose us in the future?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I will say is the kinds of data we have access to today were not the kinds of data we had access to in the past. So I would assume, even your company, you're collecting lots of real-time data that traditionally we haven't collected that vast amounts. With Wiivv, we've got information about your body, you add smarts to it, and all of a sudden we're collecting real-time information and how you move and walk. And so I don't think anyone's quite figured out how to take full advantage of that. There's almost a new set of science that's going to come from the new kinds of data we're collecting. You said, what's the role of judgment? I think, like anything, we're going to push gradually into it, and when we think we can trust it, we'll rely on it. Self-driving cars. Everyone thinks you still need the guy behind the steering wheel, but frankly, there will be a point where we feel comfortable not driving the car. I think there's a little bit of that mentality as we kind of go into that frontier.
I think actually the question is really interesting because I think in diagnostics especially, I think we will see, we are working actively on diagnosing certain things. I think we will see that more and more technology will come into the diagnostics. But I think what we really need to look at is healthcare is not only about diagnostics, it's really also about care. You see very vulnerable people, and I think the role of a doctor is not just to look at a person and say, oh, this is what you have, here's medicine, but it's also to really provide this ecosystem, provide trust, provide the entire care ecosystem for that person. And I think for technology, it's hard to copy that. I think we can do it to a certain extent with communities. So with Ava, we work very, very strongly with communities. We have almost all our customers actively participating in communities. But I think still this care aspect that a doctor brings, that can't and will not be replaced.
So Leah, you're an international company. Are there healthcare systems that you think are particularly progressive in terms of embracing this consumerization trend?
I would honestly at this point, we're active in Europe at the moment and in the US. I would say the US is definitely more advanced than Europe is at this point. I think people feel more comfortable using technology to really understand their body better and to understand their health better than they, for example, do in, let's say, Germany or Switzerland, where we're also based. I think the US is a step further to the other countries that we see.
I can add to that. We work in Canada and the United States, different medical care systems. I agree. The US is more progressive in its use of technology at the moment. But the flip side is Canadian companies are providing a lot of wellness benefits to employees now. It's become an expectation almost. So you're seeing patients again starting to take and choose the kind of wellness and health products and services they want to start using to help with their own care. So I think that's being pushed by the companies and the new employee as well that's driving that.
You know, why are companies pushing wellness with their employee base? What's
It
the
depends if
benefit?
you want to be a pessimist or an optimist. I, as an optimist, would say because you want people to be well and live a great life. The pessimist might say you want to get more out of your employees. I just think it's ultimately better for everyone involved, right?
Yeah, I mean, we also work with employers at this point, and I mean that's a completely new system to me, right? In Europe, we don't have this whole tradition of employers providing you all those benefits. So for me, it was very new when I came here to learn that this is the case here. But I mean, it does make a lot of sense. And I mean, employers, if you talk to employer benefit providers, they will always look at the return on investment. They will. So it must make sense for them money-wise.
And you need data for that.
So are both of you addressing the kind of 1% population, or how do you embrace the 40% of people who don't have health insurance?
Yeah. For us, it was about bringing orthotic grade capability, which is $500 plus, and requires lots of steps where you got to go into a doctor, find the time to do it. You can't afford a second one. Maybe medical care will cover it if you've got a good plan. And we're bringing that customization capability to a price point under $100. Where if you are a construction worker, a nurse, a teacher, we sell a lot to teachers who are on their feet all day. This is something they'll pay for out of their pocket, and it's accessible, and they'll take advantage of the repeat purchase discount as well. So it's bringing what was reserved for people with good health care to as many people around the world. For me as a founder, and that's one of the most important things about our mission, is being able to bring personalized care to as many people as possible.
I just want to thank you for the question because I think it's a brilliant question, and I think that's really one of the problems we see, right? Where all this new technology just adds to the costs of the healthcare system at the moment, and we don't have solutions for everyone else, so everyone is developing for the 1%. I think we are bringing costs down compared to other solutions that are out there right now, but in the end, I mean, Ava isn't cheap. It's $250. You need to be willing and wanting to spend that. So I wouldn't say we're for the 1%, but it's still there's a cost point attached to it, right? And I think one thing that we really look at in the future is all the research that we're doing now on diagnostics, on pregnancy, and on contraception. I think that will be very different because that will be much more mass market than where we are right now.
15 seconds to wrap up. Shamil, you're on.
I just think I'll do a quick call out to the fact that we've got our custom sandals too. Again, trying to get it to the masses. This is a way to take care of your posture and health in a mass-produced product, mass-customized product.
I like the ad. No, I think my 15 seconds is, I think if there's anyone in the audience that thinks about starting something in healthcare, please do. I think it's such a wide space. I think there's so much that we still need to do, and we're all not perfect at what we're doing right now. So if I can encourage anyone here, please go into healthcare.
I want to thank our panelists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Much.